Okay, cool. And 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Quarter Flag Talk Podcast. It's your boy John, and it's another international break, but it's the last one, which is fantastic. It's great news. Um, People in Trinidad should be getting this today. Yeah, I think I should be able to put it out one time today. And it's Diwali, so happy Diwali to everybody who celebrated. And yeah, hope everybody's good. Hope you all had a good long weekend. And yeah, we can get straight into it. I have Virgil here. Uzi, was he good, my guy?
So international break now starts and I'm already fed up with it. And you know,
Honestly, yeah.
and Diwali happened, so fed up and get no sweets. So it's a lose lose.
Pat, was he good, my guy?
Hi, blessed good morning, everybody. I want to wish a happy Diwali for all the Hindus and non-Hindus out there, respectively. Um, and yeah, I doing fine, similar to Virgil, no sweets. Obviously, I'm not in Trinidad, so have no Diwali celebration. So it's not even my damn holiday today.
Did you get a
So
haircut
yeah,
recently, Pat?
I did get a haircut recently.
It looks
Yes,
very clean.
yes, appreciate that. Thanks for waiting to tell me for when we recorded. Not like I've been here for half an hour.
Are you afraid to blush on camera, bro?
I never afraid to blush. I one
that,
thing.
that is
Yeah.
a fact. Okay, guys. So, as usual, we'll go through the stuff for the Premier League and we'll go through the stuff in the other leagues as well. Take a break and then we'll talk about what happened in the Champions League and how things are setting up for the last two match days. In terms of content to come during the international break, I think what I'm going to do is I think next week I'm gonna try and get as much people on, like probably 6 or 7 if we can, and do just like a full trivia episode. Um, just I'll come up with a bunch of questions, different categories, stuff like that, and let people, yeah, just compete and see what they get, and I don't know, figure out something for the winner. Probably gonna a gift card or something like that. Yeah, cool, sounds good. So let me kick off this weekend. Where else to start? You know, I have nobody else to start. Than the fact that Chelsea's 4, Manchester City 4. It was a really entertaining game. And I know when Salk listens to this, he is going to stoop. He's going to roll his eyes at what I'm about to say. But I do think across this season, it's been a lot more positives than negatives for Chelsea, despite the points. Look, I know it's a results based business, and I totally get that. And they need to pick up wins. They do. But I think they are amidst a hard run now. They started off the season with a bunch of injuries. They also have a bunch of people injured right now as well. And they still, every week to me, play really good football. And I'm a big believer in that ball no lie, without being able to say it in better terms, that eventually good football will come good. And in terms of results, especially at the level at which Chelsea are, where the players that they do have is a lot of quality, even the ones returning. And so, yeah, it was 4-4. Chelsea played really well. Manchester City decided they wanted to play a game to go blow for blow. And that is exactly how the game went. The underlying metrics was about level between the two teams. The game opened up with a penalty, one which I didn't agree with. I didn't think it was a pen, but Haaland scores it. Thiago Silva instant reply rather, with a header from a corner. Then Raheem Sterling scores against his former employers. Then a Kanji from a set piece right before halftime. After that, Haaland slides in a goal. Then after that, Jackson puts in a rebound. Then after that, Rodri gets a goal off a deflection. And then
Yeah.
lastly, Cole Palmer with a goal against his former employers as well from the penalty spot in the 94th minute. So, I can't start anywhere else. Man with Virgil. Uzi, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Honestly, first thing you definitely have to say is you have to point out it was an entertaining game. It's entertaining from Chelsea and City, and although sometimes it hasn't been like that for a while. Many people do remember clashes between Chelsea and City to be very entertaining. So this is something that was good. That was good to see. Honestly, like from a City's point of view, I can't be disappointed because like I keep telling people because I was having some talk with some Chelsea brethren and everything. I'm telling them, The only reason why I can't be disappointed is because if you concede four, you don't deserve to win. So it have no way of saying, oh, we could have come out and get our fifth goal and now. If we let those four goals in, and don't get me wrong, I can't even fight down those Chelsea goals and say anything. Chelsea looked good in the attack. Chelsea took the chances. And even for the last one, credit for Palmer and credit to Sterling for how they came up against the former team. So that was also good to see. And really, from a Chelsea point of view, we spoke about Chelsea last week and said, from what happened with Spurs and obviously that whole scene, that whole storyline and the scoreline tell a different scene. But honestly, Chelsea really impressed me, and I really feel like Poch have to look at that as a big positive because they take points off plenty of the top four teams. They take points off Liverpool. They take points off Arsenal. They take points off Spurs. They take points off City. So although they place in the table don't really show much of a threat, it's a big
Mm-hmm.
positive for them and their individual season.
Yeah, totally agree. Pats.
Well, it was a real entertaining game. For somebody that not a City fan, not a Chelsea fan, I just went to watch the game and I was purely entertained. I think that was about the best way to cap off the weekend and
Describe it.
send us into the international break, with that game on our minds and ready to discuss it. I wouldn't really be too worried as a City fan, to be honest. I think they're still in pole position to go ahead and run away with the league. I think that Pep, it was just a case of letting his players express themselves, every once in a while,
Yeah.
and being able to do that in quote unquote a big game I mean, it's fun, and they got a good game, and in the end, 4-4, extremely entertaining. Shout out Cole Palmer, the most Jamaican player on the field at the time. Shout out Raheem Sterling for celebrating and then remembering to not celebrate, so he kind of somewhere half in the middle. That was cool.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I thought it was honestly a very entertaining game. I think everybody had a good game as well. I can't really think of anybody that really had a awful game, you know, so on and so forth. Just all around, really entertaining game to watch.
Now, if you talk about individual players too, I feel like from when you look at just to touch on quick our part say for the City point of view, it's not really that disappointing because of where Chelsea is in the table. Like no disrespect to them, but it's like
You can
I,
disrespect
I,
them if you want to.
it's like I'm glad that we kind of get it all the way to basically quote unquote a team that sits in mid table. I don't call them a mid table team. A team that just sits in the middle of the table, as opposed to somebody that we fighting for in top four. But so that way I can sit down and look at Chelsea players, and I have to say, Conor Gallagher, dog, that man was having a game.
Yeah.
Most of them
He's having
Chelsea
a
players,
season, bro. He's
no,
having a
most
good
of them Chelsea
season.
players was having a game, boy. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy,
Oh,
Conor Gallagher.
Sterling look real good too, eh?
Yeah, boy, still look good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And this is where, like, look, I have been in a position where morale points is where you gain every week because you're not actually picking up actual points. And dog, at some point, you really don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear about good performances when you're not getting the 3 points. But
Mhm.
I think that for a project that's this early, that's had disruptions of you played a system in preseason entirely built around one player in Nkunku for him to get injured right before the season starts and don't really have any time to test out something in game settings. So then season starts now, and every week somebody new had get injured for a little while with Chelsea, whether it was Chilwell went down, whether it was Chukwuemeka went down. Obviously, we said in Conquer from before, Broja had came in 2 games into him playing after returning from injury, had get injured as well. Up to now, Lavia has not even played for them. Colwell picked up a knock for Fana, obviously out. So there's a lot of parts from Chelsea that are missing that they probably would like in their final iteration that isn't there. And so I have a little sympathy for Poch from that point of view. And I'm somebody that thinks like, when the coach sets up the team and they are playing in a way that are creating chances, look, at the end of the day, players need to have the quality at the end of the day to finish these chances. And Chelsea are routinely creating games where they are above 2 XG in nearly every game that they have played. Chelsea have actually won um 10 out of 11 games this season on XG, which that doesn't count for anything. I'm fully aware of that. But in terms of talking about trends, then we're talking about a situation where these players just aren't showing enough quality in front of goal. And that to me isn't entirely a coaching issue. Like obviously coaches could finish that, could polish that, and but it still requires these players to go on the field. And I know talking about goal scoring in a game where they scored for, off of another game where they scored for, um, sounds a bit out there. But I think that there were times in this game where Chelsea should have been able to take a bit more of a commanding lead. And thus, because it was all except for when they went 2-1 up, it was always a case of they clawing back to be level, that
Mm-hmm.
they always left space for Chelsea to be able to turn them for City, sorry, to turn on them and to do something to them, which is exactly what had happened, right? And not ever put themselves in a position where they really had something to defend until that set piece, which I can't join in them for. So yeah, anybody have anything they want to add to that, or I could always move on to the next point I had.
Yeah, good
I
one.
have you on a final point, Doug. How it is every time Broya gets sub on or so on, this man does just have an impact. At what point is he
Yeah.
going to be fit enough to just take over Nicholas Jackson's foot?
And I honestly think that's just the issue, It's just fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was given a chance over
Yeah, way.
Jackson, and then he was left in the team even when Jackson had returned from suspension. It's just fitness. And dog,
Yeah.
honestly, phenomenal fake to win that pen, bro. Like, dog, I
Nah,
eat
he's
that
really
and
good
all.
though.
On the replay, I eat that and all. Like it was
He's
that
really
was
good.
real good. And dog Cole Palmer, like all you know that I've been a fan of this, and I feel like every week I preface it by saying that. But dog, he's just really good. He's really, really good. And
I mean, all these City rejects are
yeah, but
impressive.
it's not even a case of he's a reject though. They wanted to keep him. He just didn't want to stay. But a
Yeah.
Because he
product
was
of,
never
of
going to
being
start.
Mm-hmm.
but they had said that how they might not have bothered to sign Doku if they had kept Cole Palmer. And watch how much game time
That
Doku
is
is getting.
speed talk.
Nah,
That is
that's
speed
big talk.
talk.
'Cause we was looking at our winger. That's why, because that's why people is serious. We were looking at wingers, and we were like, well, we have Cole. We could just do it. It's only because even when Cole left, we already had talks going on with Doku.
Fair enough. But I think it have some men that taking up space in the city that even when he was there, I think he had deserved a chance over them.
And no,
And
and that the fact that he deserve a chance. I just said that men who taking up space, and you wonder why he wasn't getting more of a chance.
And the thing is, we talk about these players as rejects and stuff like that, which look to some extent, I guess they all are. Him, Sterling, Jesus, and Zinchenko, whoever you want to go down the line with. But one, that doesn't take away from their quality, and then two, it also comes down to being in favor with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to be fair, that's the argument a lot of people has used in favor of fraud and not solidifying a spot in the side, is not being in favor enough with Pep to start long stretches of games in a position of high responsibility. And fair play to him, he actually did start it this weekend. And I thought he had a few moments in it which he was pretty good. But
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, on the brochure thing, it's just a case of fitness. I can't lie, Rog kind of get upset with me for saying this, but the Sassy's a dud, bro. I can't lie, like
Yep.
he not good enough for this level at all, boy. Up to now, I don't think he know where Haaland was for that third goal. He's not even looking, bro. And he's so sus in possession. He's so slow off it, and like I'm not saying that he was their downfall by any means, but he has moments where he is culpable of responsibility. I thought Thiago Silva had an amazing game, bro, and I mean, I somebody who
Yeah.
have said like I think they need to move on from him, and I still think that, but bro, he's still able to show class in these games, even outside of his goal. City, this is two games in a row for Manchester City in big games where they've been handed a slightly dubious penalty at best. Do we think it's a pen? Do we not think it's a pen? What's he thinking about it?
It's a tricky one to call, but honestly from that you really can't get that pen because that's a very soft pen to give, and obviously the whole thing, whole issue now is when you're talking about VAR, then after you're talking about the officials, but then after you're talking about the replays itself, because from the replays showing for Cole is showing Cucurella pulling down Haaland,
Hmm.
but it not showing there was a wrestling match going on before.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
and then
Yeah.
after, and it just ended with that. And even if it just focus on just the Cucurella part alone, that's still soft in itself. So like for
Hmm.
me, I understand, because I understand in that case that also happens too. You have a big striker, if he get pulled down, obviously the ref and thing will look at that and be like, big striker pulled down, how to be a pen. But when you're really looking at that, if we was on the end of that, that would be a big talking point for City fans. We'll have a
Yeah.
big issue with that. So for me, when you're looking at it on the whole, just the way that how VAR has been going, and just the way how these decisions has been, very questionable. Yeah, for that, I feel like that just honestly just adding to the list, because that's, to me, is no pen.
And but thing with it too is obviously it is that him that he was pulling Cucurella shit just as much, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
is why I just didn't think it was anything to begin with. However, I have an issue where, like, dog, if it is warranted, then yeah, 100% give it, right? But I have an issue where teams aren't doing much in games, and then they have a moment, they have, even if you want to call it a 50-50 call, and you're about to just swing everything in their favor and give them a 75% chance of scoring for doing, because I don't think it's unfair to say that up to that point, City hadn't do anything really in the game, and
Yeah.
these are big decisive moments that you just hand into to teams, and I think that is real unfair, boy. Pat, anything to say about it?
Yeah, I think it's a penalty, 100%. Because, like, if you watch the whole action, and I don't agree, like, I agree with what you said, but I don't think that applied to City in this case. Like, I don't think the refs just decided to give City a chance out or nothing. Plus, it doesn't matter. Like,
No,
game
right.
state
I know
doesn't
that
matter
part.
for a
Yeah,
foul.
I know that don't matter. But I just will say, like, that is something that's annoying, man. That had nothing to do with this
Oh,
specific
okay.
instance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 'Cause I just wanted to clarify that part, that it doesn't matter if a team is, on top of the game or not, a foul is a
Yeah, yeah,
foul.
yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
so the reason I think it's a foul is because, one, like, I don't think Haaland was pulling Cucurella's shirt. I get that was a wrestling match, but I don't think he was pulling his shirt. It was a hand, like, stay away from me type of thing. And then as he started to accelerate towards the ball, a ball that he's in favor to get, now you're getting two hands around his waist dragging him down. And to me, that is a foul, especially since he in contention to get to the ball. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So you have Cucurella has already been beat, comes from behind and puts his hand around his waist, like hugs him, right? And pulls him down. Now, I don't think Haaland actually got dragged to the ground. He obviously fell, all on his own, to dive. But I still think it's a
Right
foul,
part of
though.
it.
I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think inside the box, outside the box, and this is what I think, right? I think that a foul is a foul, whether it is inside the box or outside the box or whatever. I think if that's outside the box, it's given, and nobody cares. But because it lead to a pen, now it becomes scrutinized. But I do think by the letter of the law, it is a foul. And I'm somebody,
Yeah.
I usually on the other side for pens. I usually saying I don't think that was a penalty. Um, but I think that one was. The more I watch it, and it looked like a pen in real time, and it looked like a pen in slow motion. I don't think Haaland do anything wrong, so I
Mm-hmm.
think it was a pen.
Valid. Fair enough. Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually think you might have convinced me there. Um, the one where the second Haaland goal, right? Did if it is so some
Oh,
people were saying that
such
his
a sloppy goal.
yeah. Some people were
Did he
saying that
handle it? He
that
handled it.
yeah, his elbow touched it before he crossed the line. Does that
I'm gonna
disallow
go
the
look.
goal if it happened?
It should. If his elbow touch, it's supposed to, because by the letter of the law, they're not supposed to have a hand involved in a goal at
Okay.
all. Whether it was mistake on purpose, whatever. As
Here's
long as
the
your
thing,
hand
though,
touch the
right?
ball, it's supposed to get taken
I
away.
being
So I
real,
don't know.
I don't trust these men to check that properly either way because they have this technology to check where the ball cross the line, and yet apparently that is not something very consistent that they can check at to see if it crossed the line even before, if it even did touch his elbow. Because obviously, like the angles that we got have on the TVs are the same angles that they have to see if it really did
So what
touch,
you're
if it
saying
just looked like
is,
it touched.
what you're saying is it could have crossed the line and touched his elbow after. If
Yeah,
that's the
which
case, it's a goal though.
yeah, that
Anything that
was saying
happened
that.
after the line is, yeah.
Yeah, that was saying that. Like in that case, then it doesn't really matter. Um,
I will say,
mhm.
the penalty on Broya is probably as clear as they come. You
Bro,
don't get
yeah,
more penalty than
yeah.
that.
Like,
Yeah, that's
and
such easy. I don't even know why they went to VAR. I don't even know why they reviewed that. To be honest with you,
dog, and
like that's as clear as day.
this is where that I just have my issue with the Arsenal. Like I think he has moments where he had to just disappear, bro, and he like to put he bottom the ground. Like me and Soka Street 2 years ago, on the ground, rested on my kind of thing, dog. He just like to
Right,
do
right.
that, dog.
Big
And
Wally dog. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah. And so that is where I just because like even for the third goal, dog, the only reason Jackson had a free run to touch that in is because homeboy is on the ground. Why are you even on the ground, dog? Because he be on the ground,
Mhm.
play him onside, and give him a free run to go on the goal, dog. And but the point I was going to ask about City is that like I know they're missing KDB, right? But I feel like this is, and again, look, they draw 4-4 though. Fade off to them. And this is our ground where Chelsea has been taking points off of people. You know, and Chelsea have been taking points off of big six sides as Virgil had pointed out. But there's the Arsenal game. There's the Newcastle game where they won by a wonder strike by Alvarez, bro. Because like there's no right that you should be scoring that with your right foot from that angle. Then there's the Chelsea game where I don't think Chelsea were better. Sorry, I don't think City were better than Chelsea, and and it did take some fortune for them to get this draw over the line. Obviously, the most clear one is the deflection of Thiago Silva, and even in the United game, until that pen, they wasn't really doing much. You know, now obviously second half happened and United completely capitulate. But City have a hard run coming here. And are we allowed to discuss then the potential of that City aren't playing as well in these bigger games this season?
Definitely discuss that.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I will say City is really good at? Making sure they don't lose to these small teams. That'll go
Correct.
a
Oh
long
yeah,
way
100%.
in these
Yeah.
title runs. That'll go a very long way in these title runs.
But
Um,
I would say that they have our so I had it up before. You know. I know it is so it's Liverpool right after the international break for City. And then after
Yeah.
Liverpool is Spurs, is Villa, and Brighton. Those
Mm-hmm.
was
at
our
the
next match.
moment, at the moment, they probably dispatch all three of those. Spurs, Villa, Brighton, gone.
Mm,
I don't think any of those teams could stand for
no,
City.
Liverpool, Spurs, Villa. That is the three. I thought there was
No,
Brighton
yeah,
somewhere there, but no.
Liverpool, boom. But
Mm-hmm.
Spurs, Villa, whoever else, gone,
Yeah,
murdered.
honestly, I think they murder
Broad
Spurs.
daylight.
Honestly, I think they murder Spurs
Hmm.
because I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we get to Spurs when we talk about the whole Spurs game, but like we know the space that Spurs leaves in behind, and they
Yeah,
don't have the
and
attacking
they're losing too many
potency
players.
right now to go toe to toe with them, right?
Yeah,
But I don't think that City has been that good this season in the bigger games. Now again, they lacking KDB, which all the Rabs has provided for him, and the Prem now the man is a massive player for these big games, right? And
but
that
it's
is a
all
big
about
man.
Alvarez, bro.
You find he do anything today?
If you do anything, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's played good though. I really like him.
Oh no, I like him too. It wasn't that. I just think like there's a few games now that we like you would I expect a little more from City than I think. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think
Yeah.
like all these games that they were totally in control and scoring. I mean, again, it's big games, right? You don't really expect them to score at will, but I don't think that they're at the level that we were expected City to be. Now, are they possibly going through this first part of the season where it's just points we get by until we get back KDB, as well as integrating a lot of parts?
Hmm.
Or is it that we seeing a lack of cohesiveness probably in the attack at times, depending on a little bit of fortune to get away, you know, on clicking in the same way? Or is the truth somewhere in the middle between all that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it's always be like this for the first half of the season. City will get kind of
Probably.
discredited. They will kind of just sneak in, not consistent second, third, and then by January up a little bit, and then February, March, pow, 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 pow,
Can
and
I
then
say
they win
though,
the league.
this is the
And
first season, this is the first time though, I generally do think that City have an actual point of weakness that they actually can't cover up if he gets injured for any time period, and that is genuinely Rodri. I
True.
think if he get any kind of injury,
yeah,
like
yeah,
before, like I mean, no, we've seen like KDB out, so he never really was important to begin with, right? And so he can be out, Hala can be out, Alvarez will just go and strike. Well, Foden never really impact anything really. Ruben Diaz could be out, and that they'll bring in Ake Gavadio, Akanji Walker, whatever they want to line up with. But Rodri is the one where there is an actual point of failure there, and I feel like before people would have felt like, okay, Rodri could probably miss 3-4 games. They might play one big game in that space, and if he miss, right, he don't miss. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hypothetically, and Phillips would have come in and do a decent enough job. But the trust isn't even there with Phillips,
Yeah.
or
yeah.
with the players that he has trusted to do it, whether it was Kovacic or whoever it may be. So that is the only place that I do think that they do have a chink in their armor that I don't
Hmm.
really think is disputable. And I mean, obviously, every team has that. There's Liverpool with Salah or Allison,
Like
even, or Van Dijk, or with Arsenal with Saliba and Saka, or with who's the next
Rice.
good team? Rice, yeah. Who's great. Um, after that, the quality is just kind of shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Newcastle with Trippier and so on and so forth. So
yeah,
yeah.
cool. Thank you very much. I was actually losing my words there for a second. Barca, Lewandowski.
No, we could play. I mean, he's just bringing down the morale of the team right now.
Yeah, so no concerns about City then. None.
I don't think so.
None.
I think
But I
None.
even
have a
if
question.
like,
Yeah.
I have a question though. Is the trust then in City to not be concerned totally about what we know about them in the past?
wait, what?
Is the trust
Oh,
then that we have in City that nothing is wrong, that they'll still go on to win the league and probably do it comfortably, have everything to do with what they've achieved in the past years, and to some extent ignoring the form we actually see on the field?
100%. I mean, if it wasn't City, if it was Spurs started the season well and then started to look like how City looking, it would be a whole different story. It would be like, Spurs dog it again.
Yeah.
Type of thing. History has 90% of the story to play in this
Mm.
thing. You know what I mean? In this evaluation. 90% of this is history. And it's that every season City just start a little, not even shaky, but just a little slow.
That's
And then
true.
they just build month after month, just build, build, build,
The thing
build.
is,
And then
though,
before you know it, they win the damn league.
while I agree with that to a large extent, and I really do, because I mean, like I said, the proof is right there, right? How many times that they'll drop us that silly points in the first half of the season and then steamroll the second half of the season.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
I feel like with the passing years, it has the capacity to do that to a large extent has been decreasing. You know, 3 years ago. Well, they didn't even win the league then. Then 2 years ago, they went on win the league with no kind of hesitation whatsoever because that
Mm-hmm.
was the year that everybody had injury crisis and United had COVID tax with them and they came second and whatever. Then the
Yeah.
year after that it went on to the last year of the season. And then last year was the lowest points that they ever won the league by.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it is possibly some coming down. Obviously
It's a
this
good.
year they
Here's my
had.
question, right?
Mm-hmm.
All
Should
I was
they
going to say
care how they win the
before you
league?
say what you say is that I think that how to caveat part of it too is that I think this year is the biggest turnaround that we've seen Pep had in a little while. Not just like
Mm-hmm.
a big set of numbers because I don't think it's a large set, but in terms of deep players who are there, whether it is injury or that they left, it's players that were somewhat stalwarts now. Obviously Gundogan, he's like the biggest one, but like Mares is no longer there as well again, and KDB is out injured. And then the players who have come in for them are in a lot of ways pretty raw or
Yeah.
inconsistent. You have Doku who looks fantastic, but he didn't really make an impact yesterday in the big games. And for all your argument might have against him, big games is where Mares used to shine. Then you have Kovacic who come in for Gundogan. And then you have Nunes, who is in the spot while KDB is out. He's a very raw talent. Very
Mm-hmm.
talented, but very raw talent. So that could lean into some of it as well. But yeah, Pat's go and say what you wanted to say.
No, I was just gonna ask if it matters how they win, like how they
No,
win the league. If it's a
no,
convincing win
Yeah.
or just barely scrape by win. Because all history gonna show is
win.
title, you know?
Yeah,
No, and with that point, to saying that all history showing is that City with the league, people forgetting that this is not new. Every single season, and like what Patrick mentioned, in the beginning, City has always had a problem. We're talking about last season when people were talking about we wasn't finding Haaland enough. If Haaland is fit for the system, everything tweak at the end of the season, we forget about it. Season before, we could go back season before that. We were talking about lack of creativity. We were saying, oh, City there, they're not really taking the chance. Well, they're not really making chances. Coming down to the end, even going back to the most notable one, the false City with the false nine. Before we switched to the false nine, we were saying City lack a striker. City lack a striker. That the big question is to ask Pep every single time after the game when we draw, when we drop points against mid-table teams. They're always saying if a lack of striker is the problem. Then after we switch to the false nine, people talking about coming out the end of the season, that was probably City best formation, City best type of football. So it's always happening in the beginning of the season. Always look like that. So obviously, and many times we have times because remember back when Diaz got injured last season, we were talking about Diaz there. Issues with defense. Oh yeah, and another thing too, when we were conceding last season, we were conceding a lot of goals, a lot of sloppy goals. That was another issue. Coming down to the end, he switched, do his thing with Stones. He make a stone wall in the back. So on top of it having like these unexpected issues, like for example like KDB out, because don't get me wrong, between KDB and Rodri, I feel like if KDB is fit and Rodri out, I feel like we fine. I feel like we fine. And if it reverse, KDB, like if KDB out, it's only a problem when Rodri out and KDB out. If KDB there and Rodri out, I feel like it'll be no problem because he could then afford the attack to do this thing. He have the man creating, and he have those new personnel, those bodies that could basically sit back and hold defense. And then we forget a key person in John Stones. If John Stones play that midfield role, I'm very confident if John Stones in that midfield role and Rodri out. But the main thing I'm saying is there has always been problems. There's always been problems. There have been big problems that we overlook coming out any season because City win the league, so it don't really matter. So the only thing right now that I noticing is there are points all over the field where it have bright spots, but it don't have that person to kind of gel it together. We have Doku looking good, then we have moments where Alvarez just looking like our generally midfield, just doing everything. Then it have moments where Bernardo just turn into Messi and just run the game himself. Then obviously Rodri showing things up, and then Rodri popping up in attack. But they all happen in different moments, and some moments where they're not happening at the same time. Like for this Chelsea game, Doku, it's key thing. Doku wasn't showing the form he was showing just a couple of games ago when he got four assists. But I feel like when De Bruyne is there, De Bruyne able to bring out everybody. He could find Doku with the runs. He could play with Doku. He could play good with Bernardo. And then he definitely could find our strikers. So right now it's a problem. It's a problem that Pep have to solve without KDB for the point in
Yeah,
time
that's all
because
right. Let me ask this
Mhm.
question then. At what point though does that? I mean, dog, you see when they're picking up points and they are first in the
Yeah.
league, by a point, but they're still first in the league. At what point does that catch up to them though? Because then basically what we're saying is that unless you believe that that is impossible to ever catch up to them, then you're gonna say they're gonna win the league as long as Pepper's here every
Mhm.
year. Which honestly, it is very possible that could happen. But I don't think that that is sustainable necessarily every year. And to be fair,
Mhm.
I know Stones has been injured. Obviously, Rodri had a suspension and KDB has been out. But they are the side that has suffered the least amount of injuries of the big sides and have not had that separation from the rest of the pack then. So then now, what about when other teams get their turn with fortune with injuries and stuff like that? You know? Because obviously, when you're talking about the title rivals, you're talking about Liverpool and Arsenal, both of which have dog. If you watch the bench for both Arsenal and Liverpool games this weekend, is dog. It had names all everyone would recognize it. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I knew the Arsenal players. I didn't even know all the men on Liverpool bench. You know, so what if that turns then now? Are we looking at this Liverpool have, maybe just two or three men out injured, but have most of their squad. Arsenal is the same thing. And City then now have the unfortunate turn of injuries then, and they don't have that form that men can just plug and play at the end. Is that a concern?
Well, what you mentioned there, remember injuries is a big part. Injuries is something that unknown because if when City have injuries, that's a difference of saying if the other teams have their full players and the luck of fortune going in their way, and City still have their full team, because if City have injuries, then sometimes you really can't do anything about that, because if it's a set of injuries piling up. The only thing that City have different a lot of them, and you will always see it coming down to the latter part of the season, is the style of play, and the style of play is very sustainable. So we were
Yeah,
not so
that's
you
I
you're,
agree
you're
with.
not
Yeah.
going to be suffering burnout as much as other players, other teams, the way that they play football. That's the main thing, because even when it coming down to that, and you have to play those back and forth games, and then after
That's I agree with.
Liverpool
Yeah.
or the other team need to rely on those names on the bench that nobody know about. When it's time to throw them on, it gonna be a different scene, as the way that City have men touching around, keeping possession for 70% of the game, and then after next game you're wondering how them men fresh and run, because the style of play is really what separates them.
Now
Mhm.
that I agree
I
with.
was
That's
I
actually
was
kind
about
of
to say
why.
the same thing, cause they're City players, they barely run. That's the luxury
Yeah.
that they get when they keep the ball so much. So I think there's a method to the madness, and I don't think it's just all luck for why they don't get these big long-term injuries. Also, I will add another part. City have more depth than all the teams in
Not
the top six.
numbers wise though.
I would say quality-wise, their
Yeah.
No, yeah,
bench is
quality
better
wise,
than
yeah.
everybody else's
But
bench.
what I'm saying is
Even
that
freaking Oscar Bob does look good.
Yeah.
no, but
Oscar
what I'm
Bob,
saying
I
is like
think he could play.
quality wise, depth in multiple positions
Mhm.
not that it don't matter, but I can't think of a better word to use. If that player is out, so even if that player is can cover three positions, it
Hmm.
that one player gone then it for three positions, you know. But I
No, but
totally agree with the style
the
of play though.
But I find the seven guys on the bench, if you was to have a freaking bench off, I think their bench is still beating the other top six. But if you go seven aside, basically, I think their bench is
Mm-hmm.
higher quality, I would say, because you're looking at like at any given day, it could be Foden, Bernardo, Bob, goalkeeper, Ortega. Good, by the way. If Edison ever get injured, like Ortega could play.
Of course.
I don't even remember who else. Calvin Phillips, not that good. Nunes, decent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. One of these centre backs, you're talking Ake or somebody, is going to be on the bench as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then when
valid.
KDB come back, he's freaking benching some other, probably Alvarez. So Alvarez on the
Actually,
bench. So,
on the
I mean, it's a good match.
KDB thing, I remember I saw him last 2 weeks or something. He had do an interview and
Oh yeah, how he was? He was
he
good.
was saying like he actually not sure when he actually going to come back because the rehabilitation was taking longer than he
Mm-hmm.
thought it would have, and
He
that
can
he
come back
looking
next
more
year.
February and thing, which which is still part of the season. You know, he still be able to
It is.
contribute.
He'll
Um,
be able to come back in the season, get a title,
I,
play the
I'm,
Champions League final. He'll be alright.
I remember he not trying to rush too because his eyes also on Euros. So that I kind
oh
of you
yeah,
kind of understand. You understand
yeah, and he
understand
want to
yeah.
be fit for the Euros to flop again on the international stage. So,
Nah, the main flop retire, you know. So I just
Yeah,
it's a whole
it's
new
all good
team.
now.
all you
Them
can't,
Timber, them
all you no
Timberlands
way,
come
all
up.
you could actually say that Hazard has flopped for Belgium. Dog, if all you're going to say Hazard flopped for Belgium, then what the hell you going and call KDB, bro? That is insane.
Big
I
Um,
man, I thought he was talking about Lukaku, but my bad
no,
then. I
nah,
may
top
have
scorer
misread that.
running, bro.
no
Okay, cool.
Lukaku
I
and
thought
KD,
the Tims get hung up.
Lukaku and
We
KDB
anybody
have
want to
a
say anything
connection.
to close off this game before we move on? Anything they want to leave with?
It's
Nah.
okay.
Okay. Well, I want to say something. Well, they're boring. Again, for Chelsea, I would be encouraged. I am fully aware. I am saying this amongst a run where what was the last 4 games? It was a draw, a loss, a win, a draw. That's only 5 points out of a possible 12. I fully agree that is not good enough if you want to make top four. But at this point, I see enough to still stand by my prediction that Chelsea will be in Champions League football come May. I do think that there is enough. I think the quality of play is there, and I do think that they should be able to get the Rotary Green eventually. I know they had to play Newcastle next, but after
Mm,
that, I think that is a decent run of games for them against teams that leave enough space for them to outscore teams. You know, and credit to them, they are scoring more these days. You know, two
Yeah.
against Arsenal, four against City, four against Spurs, four against Burnley in their last few games. They are scoring.
Shit,
So,
Burnley, boy, yeah.
you know, cool, nice. Moving on. We can go this in chronological order. So that day as well,
mhm,
we had, unless all I want to talk about Spurs Wolves. But if not, then there is the Liverpool versus Brentford game that happened this
mhm.
weekend. And Liverpool won comfortably, but again, it's another game where they had a clean sheet, but it was not really reflective of how the game itself happened. So another, I kind of like the same question with Liverpool, with City. You know, is there any kind of concern there
With Liverpool,
with their
I think
defense?
that's a bit. I think that's a bit more of a concern with Liverpool, but for them, it's just gonna continue to be the same thing. They don't have a six. They need a number six. Until they get that, it's going to be
Mm.
hard for them to adjust to playing with all that
The
because
thing is,
before they had this big shield.
the
Listen,
thing with Liverpool and why, and I really believe this with what I'm about to say, is that why that they will possibly almost always cheat XG is because of Allison. You know, like
True.
he's a cheat code. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not discrediting. Like, Van Dijk, I think, has been really good this season. I think he's been back closer to his best. And I'm not discrediting that. But, like, is Allison. He saves the impossible. He gets some other so many situations on his own sometimes.
yeah,
Mhm.
Um, wow. I feel like I actually cut the analysis kind of short there. But and I really didn't mean to do it like that. I apologize. But they won 3-0. Salah got another two goals. But the stats line had read that they had 1.71 XG to get 3 goals, which honestly, that's kind of normal to have about that kind of XG and that kind of scoreline. But on the other side, they had conceded 1.68. And when you look at the table for XG conceded against, Liverpool have the joint best defense with Arsenal in terms of actual goals conceded. But in terms of XG, they are overperforming by 5 goals. And 5 goals, 11 games into the season, I think that's a
Yeah,
lot. I think that's a
a
lot.
good bit.
And so I do think that there's some concern there. Virgil, you have anything you want to add to it?
Um, yeah, because what you mentioned too earlier with the first question was the issues for Liverpool. And I think like for like as you mentioned, you without really going too much into like the analytics and all those things. If you just looking at Liverpool, like for me, Liverpool performing good, you're looking at the position in the table, but yeah, there's still something about Liverpool that I see and I just seeing like okay, they still have problems there. It just not it just
Yes.
don't feel right. And the main thing too, like even I understand like the whole top people they say people saying to how Liverpool need the six. I still thinking of okay, well, it had to be a high quality world class six to come in because I don't feel like just anybody could just come in at six and fix. 'Cause I feel like even if you give them a decent six, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they're still not going to look convinced to me. It's just something about Liverpool change over what. But if we're talking about the job and what need to be done, Liverpool is still finding a way to get the job done. Like like something
Yeah.
something about them, that's just how Liverpool is. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I
Yeah.
looking at it from a deeper point of view because next game is against Liverpool. So honestly, before this week, I would have been very confident going into Liverpool game and thinking, Karen, we could get our 3 points. Not difficult. But with the Chelsea game aside, and just this, I remember looking at this fixture for Liverpool, thinking that the likes of Mbam one we saw they were going to just have a
I thought so too.
I thought it's
I
Yeah, I
gonna
thought
honestly
have
so
thought
too.
so too.
a
I thought so too. And I think when you look ahead now for Liverpool with our City game coming up, obviously I'm not really too sure who's gonna be back. And look, can I say something? I really like
mm,
Konate.
So,
I do. I think he's quality. But bro, like if we go in on Rabs Reece James about the fact that he never fit. Hey, I credit to Reece James how the man had a great game this weekend, right? But
yeah.
if we go in on Rabs Reece James about availability, when we go and start do that for Konate, boy, like eh, I- is every week that he play, the next week he out. Like
Yeah.
at what point you going on say he's not dependable to play with anymore? Pause. You know? Like that is a very real conversation. How it is you relying on Matip at 35 years old still, bro? That has shown
Matip is class, the best dribbler in the team.
Mhm.
possibly, but my point stands. Like I think that's a valid cause of concern. Um, that they had to be still relying on him. Obviously, Joe Gomez quality is what it is, and Matip, who I think he was a great servant a few years ago, he's past it now. He's older, and I think that's fair. And you know what? Again, when we look ahead for City versus Liverpool now, like I think there's a real chance that it plays out exactly like how this Chelsea game plays out. And honestly, I could see City still winning it in the end, where City quality is not what Liverpool has had to face. Okay, obviously nobody is City quality, right? But City's level of attackers is not what Liverpool have faced so far this season, where they
Mhm.
consistently give up 1.5 XG a game averaging. You're gonna give that up to Haaland, to Alvarez, to Bernardo Silva, to Doku. Like that to me is asking for blood. That to me is
Yeah.
asking for blood. And while Liverpool has had Darwin, who's been having an excellent season, obviously Salah is who he is. Luis Diaz's dad has actually been returned to him. That's so great. And he's a great player. He'll be able to get his head into the game a little bit more now that he has that bigger issue out of the way. But City don't give up because now while Liverpool's own attack quality would get them through and get them opportunities, they don't offer up chances the way that Liverpool do. And I think that would worry me for them if I was them going into the next game.
Mhm.
Yeah. I got that loud and clear.
Wait. Why? I feel like I'm before somebody there, yes. Uh next game. I feel like we'll be doing them an injustice, not talking about them, even if it's not briefly. But they are fifth in the table. And if we're gonna talk about Newcastle versus Bournemouth, then we should talk about Aston Villa versus Fulham. That they won 3-1 this weekend. Ollie Watkins hates me
Yeah.
because why you only scoring one goal, bro? Like I need hat tricks every week,
Oh, okay.
and I think that's only fair. Like I need to speak to him. That's unfair. But
Right.
they have been
Call him.
rising up the table. They have been doing really well, and they are now fifth in the table. Now, while they maybe overperforming some metrics, I think that there's a team here, there's a group here, and there's a coach here that is suited exactly to where they all are. You know, and that's a big reason as to why they are doing well. I believe they are also top of the Europa Conference League group as well. So, um, oh my god, why can't I find this? Right, coming up for them now. Obviously, I think everybody knows they have been doing really well, despite they actually lost last week to Nottingham Forest. But after that, now they have to go to Tottenham on the return. They have to go to inform side Bournemouth. Then they have to host City, then host Arsenal. Are we feeling like there could be some drop off coming from them, or continue to show what they have shown so far this season?
I mean, I think they will continue to more or less average out to where they belong, which is around sixth in the table. I don't expect them to continue to steamroll teams week in, week out. I think that we need to expect the odd game week where they just lose 4-0 because that's just their style of play.
That's
There will be some game weeks, they just happen to not score and it looked bad. And then they will probably just bounce back the week after. And again, by the time it average out, about sixth in the table. I expect them to continue looking how they looked this
The
season. And that is
weirdest
how they
part,
look this season.
the weirdest part of their tactics for me though is that they just play a high line and they don't press. Like, is the
Mhm.
weirdest high block I just ever see. But
Because
hey,
it's about winning it along the half-ish line and
yeah,
then releasing their fast players. The higher they could win it, the better it would be for them to release their fast players. But their approach to winning the ball is not pressing. It's actually sitting back, but not sitting back deep because then it's difficult to cover all that ground to release their players. So yeah, it's a weird tactic, but that's Emery fair. And I think you have the perfect goalkeeper to play that tactic too,
yeah,
who
I
has
agree.
given up some shaky
Yep.
goals recently, but I think he will get his head back
That
in the game.
goal against Forest, bro, that was
Yeah.
madness. Virgil, I think you want to say on them before we go to Newcastle, Bournemouth.
No, honestly, it's exactly the same as what Patrick say. I feel like, I share the same thing about what you say.
Cool. Newcastle,
Respect.
Bournemouth. Bournemouth 1-2-0. Solanke has scored twice. I'm gonna give each of all, yeah, I guess, unless all you need already, then all you're boring. Where the top scorer ranks as Solanke like for the season?
Fifth.
Is it
Virgil?
where Solanke is in top scorers list?
Yes.
Uh, wait, my 15 got a little too high. Where I going for sixth.
Well, he's joint sixth. So well done. To be fair, I think it should be joint fifth, really,
And you
because
think it should be joined fifth? That's what it
because
is.
no, because
I
the way that they
mean,
have it here is like, so obviously Haaland is first, then they have Salah is second, but then third is two men with the same amount of goals, right? So then like,
yeah.
so okay, so he has joined fifth most goals in the league. Could I say it like that? Yeah, he joined fifth most.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he isn't necessarily fifth, because like third and fourth are equal. Does that make sense? He has the fifth most
Oh,
goals in the league. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how much goals does he have?
six, and that is
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, so like 13 is the most, then 10, then 8, then 7, so then 6 is the fifth most.
Mm,
You know, all
okay.
that stuff.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Which, hey,
Fair enough.
and honestly, over the last year, I have actually gained a lot of respect for Solanke. I think he's actually a pretty solid striker.
Yeah, he
And
is a solid striker.
over the last three games, Bournemouth has won two of their three. So you know what, guys? my surprise team is coming good. As they won 20 last round, one of the three, that the one of the losses against City. So we all know that doesn't actually count. But yeah, they beat Newcastle, and it was very much deserved on the day. That Bournemouth created a ton load of chances on the game, and unfortunately, this felt like a game where the depth and the injuries kind of catch up to Newcastle. When we look at their lineup on the day, it was obviously Pope goal, Trippier, Lascelles, who has been filling in fantastically for Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
Hall made his first start in the league for Newcastle at left back. Then Miley started in midfield with Bruno missing through suspension. Should have been more. And then in the front line, no Callum Wilson. Obviously, no Isak. We,
Yeah.
we knew that already, but no Callum Wilson is the bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Longstaff started, but like the other players who started is players that have been in and out the 11, but those are the more like standout ones, and they were
Yeah.
unable to really get it clicking on the day, and so
I mean, also
it,
halfway through the first half, Shaw pulled his hamstring, had to walk it off. I never seen someone walk off a hamstring strain, but fair play to him. And then it was actually him that got outpaced by Solanke for the first goal.
yeah, yeah.
Shaw was literally there like, I can't run, dog. What do you expect? So that was tough. And then halfway through the second half, Almiron pulled his hamstring. He had to get subbed. So went from bad to worse, for Newcastle. I think it is really just a case of it's been a tough period for them having to manage the Champions League and the league while still playing high octane football. And yeah, that shit is catching up. They are no longer playing once a week, it's twice now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
double, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's catching up. How has to do something to make this thing more sustainable. I fully expect them to get a nice rest over the international break and come back and look good in the first game back. But again, it's just going to be the same problems again if they don't look at more sustainable solutions. So this is where we're going to see what Hull is made of. I think it's exciting.
yeah. Valid. Virgil, anything you want to add?
Because they're being in all these competitions, this not that it don't really make it easier for him. But I say that the role of a manager, you have the players, you have your ideal starting 11, you have your fit, but you also have the other players you have to make use of. And honestly, like a good example of that is Brighton. Brighton have some players do that out, but to have some other players are stepping on, get the job done.
Hmm.
So, but I feel like Eddie Howe definitely have to try and find a way how to do that. But yeah, as you mentioned, this is a good time for him. He have time to think about it. Yeah, 2 weeks, and hopefully when Prem does start back, things could look a little better for him.
Yeah.
Nice. The one concern I would say, I mean, I know I've seen this amongst a bunch of injuries, is like they have not been creating much in front of goal. Um, Obviously, we knew how the Arsenal game went last week against Bournemouth. This week, they had generated 0.49. Against Dortmund in midweek, they had generated 0.55. And then Dortmund before that, they had generated 1.08. Now, I know I left out the fact that they beat United in midweek, but I mean, we all kind of know where United are right now. And against Newcastle, not Newcastle, I guess Wolves the week before, they actually had 2.89. But, across a little spell that we've seen not that much being created in front of goal. And like as we said, this is a learning curve for Howard, it's a learning curve for Newcastle, where you have these games to canvas. You're no longer once a week where I remember somebody was saying this, and I mean, I know this probably understood, but I'm still gonna say it anyway. That like when you're playing twice a week, there is no like real training sessions again to do. It's so much of the sessions that now is just like recovery and prep that you don't get to test out much. You don't have that whole week anymore to, probably set aside one session to try out a specific something new. And because the turnover is so much, and so getting grips to that is where I think how we kind of would need to adjust. And to some extent, that's kind of where I think like Atata actually deserves some praise with, because we have handled the addition to Champions League football pretty well. And with that, I guess we could go on to Arsenal one time. Um, Arsenal won 3-1 against Bournemouth. So Trossard openly scored with the credit to the man for committing to the header slash shoulder
Burnley.
that he was it Bournemouth Burnley. I meant Burnley. My bad. Yeah,
Probably.
we won 3-1 against Burnley. And did you all know that of the 8 goals that Trossard has scored for Arsenal, every single one of them has been assisted by Saka? I think that was a kind of nice little start there.
I didn't
Uh,
know that.
yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Like he scored one last season. Obviously, he got like 9 assists last season for us, but the
Yeah.
one he
Yeah.
scored was from Saka, and then all this season, Sevilla, today, Chelsea, Everton, all were assisted by Saka. I think that's pretty cool, actually. And more reason to get him on the field to play the 9 when Jesus is out. But yeah, I think it was a kind of professional mixed with honestly a little bit of um, what's it what I'm looking for? Complacent performance by us. But I think that with all the men that we have missing, that I really just wanted to get the points on the board going to the international break and give all the injured players some time to come back. And for the few who obviously aren't going off the international break, they get a chance to just catch yourself as well. So
Mhm.
the stat that I love the most coming out of this is the fact that we have obviously lowest schools conceded in the league this year, but also we have the lowest unexpected as well. And I think that has been a stalwart of what we do. And we talked about earlier with City and their style of play doesn't allow for much running, not much burnout that way. I even though that we are dealing with injuries, none of them are because of burnout like that. You know,
Yeah.
and I think it has to do with this the change in style that we are now, where we are just controlling him so much more. We aren't allowing the opposition to have much. Tobiasu was really sloppy on their goal. I think he went down way too easily and allowed them a chance. But outside of that, nullify teams really well, limit them to shots, limit their XG. So many games we had recently where the XG against us is like 0.03, 0.02, that kind of thing. Completely nullify the team. And obviously, a big part of that was the addition of Declan Rice. But the performance of the men around them as well. Like Tommy Asu has been considered a starter for a little while now. And that's what you want. You want to have a squad of about 60, 17, 18 players that could play at any given time. Um, Anybody have anything they want to add to that?
I think you hit the nail on the head, more or less.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't like that the whole second half, though. We had this extreme left hand side, but although big up Zinchenko, that goal was real bad, boy.
Picanho.
Yeah, dog, that's exactly what it was like. The
Yeah.
Canio. I didn't like that the whole second half of this game we had a left hand side bias and I had Saka in my FPL. I was like just begging for us to please give this man the ball. But yeah, cool.
At least
Right.
he didn't get injured though.
Yeah, boy. We ain't need that.
Because it's every game now. It's like every game he gets the same injury. Plays the
Yeah.
next game, of course, but I don't know why.
I don't know either.
Like I find out that I don't know. Honestly, I'm not in a qualified position to talk about it, but I just find out that I had to do a little bit better. Like he's trying to kill Saka. I don't understand why. You all are more than capable of beating Burnley without Saka.
That's
The
very
mark that you have break, you know what I mean? But it's over.
Hello. You're telling me this like I don't agree. I agree. It's just I
No,
mean
I know you agree.
I'm
I
like
don't know why Arteta don't rest the guy.
the,
Like
the,
everybody else is gonna rest. If
the,
Martinelli is close to not being fit, he wouldn't play. Same
yeah.
goes for every other player, except maybe
The
Saliba.
only kind of rest what's what I'm looking for reasoning I would give to Arteta is that like we just don't have an left-sided winger, and I do know we are looking for one. And I think like that aspect to him, left-footed right winger, sorry, is kind of
Yeah,
important. And the other thing I would give him to him is like, look, we have not necessarily been clicking on a big part of this. All the players that are missing that you don't want to overchange more than we already have to be changing, you know. So I could understand it from that point of view. There was a continuity, right? Because I mean, like we all knew that Arsenal lost to West Ham, and a big reason to that isn't just quality on the field, but because dog we changed nearly the whole 11, and doing too much changes could be detrimental when 3 points that even though it is expected, you still need to go and get them.
I mean, 100%. Is it at this point? I feel like you're walking a tightrope. That's all I think. I feel like Saka is so close to a 3 months, 4 months injury. Cause the
I mean,
Achilles thing is
what I
tricky.
would say is, I really, I ain't gonna say that guy wanted them feet, but my dog could, he has handled injuries well. He knocks like he's got. And in saying that, Saka has, with the assist that he got, because he always gets something. He now has 14 goals and assists in all comps this season. I think it's been a really strong start for him, and I still don't think that he has been his best yet. But he just,
Right.
I think like he's kind of entered or has been followed around. Obviously, you need to have a big sample size to be able to say something like this. But like he's entered that Salah era where like even if he isn't having a great game, he will leave with something because his quality is that good that he will have at least a moment that is still of a certain
Yeah.
standard, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
next game, who said scoring from centre back is not sustainable? Because Lindelof and Manchester United continue to disprove that week in week out.
Mhm.
To be fair, to Manchester United, I think the first half is some of the best football we saw from United this season. They actually played pretty well, created a lot of chances. Garnacho did not want to score. Hoyland also had
Yeah.
some pretty good chances to finally get his first Premier League goal, but unfortunately did not. But Lindelof goal said it all in the end. Guys, do you know that if you look at the Premier League table now, Manchester United are sixth? I thought they was having a bad
Yeah.
season.
I mean, they are, but like points wise, because
Mhm.
I when I checked it last week, I think they were like just 4 points away from the top four. So I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, but this mid-table team surprising everybody, boy.
Yeah.
If we look at United's fixtures coming up, they aren't too hard, but I mean, guys, if we be just real here, that 1-0 against Luton at home isn't the greatest. Despite that they had probably one of their best performances, but again, the fact that it's against Luton probably says a lot. But then if we look at their fixtures coming up, they have to go to Everton away, who have been very much in form.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big up the
that's
Sean
right.
Dyche. Then after they obviously have their trip to Turkey, which is do or die. Then after that, they have actually I changed my mind. This run of fixtures is terrible. Then after that, they have to go to Newcastle, and after that, they have to host Chelsea. And then after that, they have to host Bournemouth, so that hopefully will be on like a 10-game win streak by that point. And then after that, they have to host Bayern Munich, and after that, they have to go to Liverpool, and after that, they have to
Oh,
go to West Ham, and then after that, they have to host Aston Villa.
oh yeah, boy. I feel like you're very
Dog, that
lost with
run
that
talk
thing.
never
I feel
ended.
that's just terrible.
The boy
And if
John say, yeah, the picture's looking good.
the
I
and the
thought
thing
The
it
about
was
pictures.
decent.
see the thing
Wow.
about it, after this Luton game, we talking about Luton that finished one. Cause don't get me wrong, like I'd all be like as all be saying to United, no, we don't care about looking good against Luton. If you highlight if you go in the dressing room and you have written on the board, the positive this week is we look good against Luton, some wrong. Something had to be terribly wrong or the
Yeah.
mentality of that team. But the main thing is you see that from all our fixtures you call there, Champions League aside, I put Champions League aside. If United lose and if United lose in like a heavy way in one of those games, everything falling apart. I can tell you that for sure. Even if they survive
Yeah.
Newcastle and they lose heavy to Chelsea, all them games you call after Bournemouth, all that going to be everything going to fall apart. Though if they lose heavy against Newcastle, if they lose against Newcastle, forget heavy. If they lose against Newcastle and they lose against Chelsea, even worse because that going to make it even. The other teams going to look at that. They're going to look at that as all right. We smell blood. We go and take it. And I really can't count out. I can't count out Everton. So we got to see how
Wait.
that Everton game go.
We count out dog Everton are going to
Like
land the
yeah,
minerals, dog.
yeah,
Sean
you
Michael
can't count out
Dyche
Everton.
is going to run amok, bro, as he continues to track up the table. And he went like 3-2 this weekend. Everton. Yeah, they did. They
I
were
don't
3-2
remember.
against Crystal Palace, where
Okay, yeah,
Mikel go
Palace
score
too.
2 weeks into dog. I bring you Mikel going on in the draft this week. I think dog. Hey, big freaking
Oh
brain dog.
yes.
Um, and then the Korean guy dog. Big up Andy dog. They keep winning every week. I just feel so happy for him dog. I feel like that part of my bias to the party because I feel happy for Andy when Everton win it. Okay, so United, it's not sustainable. We kind of know this, and they're gonna just keep going on
Yeah.
week to week. Also, anyways, I'm gonna leave out further discussion for the Champions League. Last game before we do a quick roundup of everywhere, and then we do Champions
Yep.
League. Wolves versus Tottenham. Tottenham scored in the first minute. First 3 minutes. Thanks to Brendan Johnson, who I had heavily advocated that he came into the team. And he started a kind of, not that creative midfield because obviously Madison is out. So it was Sar, Basuma, Hoiberg. But after the first 3 minutes, more like the first 10 minutes, because they were pretty threatening for the first 10 minutes. Yeah, after that, Wolves just deal with them. It was like
More or less.
chance after chance for Wolves, and they seemed like they wasn't gonna get a points. It seemed like that Spurs were gonna escape with the 3 points, and then in the space of 8 minutes,
In injury
sub
time.
substitute Sarabia came on and scores an assist for Wolves to get their 3 points, and
Yep,
thus
yep, yep.
Wolves continue to sit pretty in mid-table as they have had actually a pretty good season. And so
That goal from Sarabia was real good.
was class, bro. No,
Yeah.
phenomenal finish by Sarabia. And thus Tottenham going from being undefeated this time last week to 2 losses in a row. And I think now, well, obviously after the last pod, we said that, you know, their injuries would be costly, but and like how much of it, their defense lies so much on Mickey Van de Ven's profile and what he brings to the team, and then going forward, there is no real replacement for Madison, which is why I advocated for Kulusevski to play a little bit more central and to bring
Hey,
in
they
another
played a
winger.
deeper line, by the way.
And
They
they,
played a deeper line.
credit to you, they did play a deeper line, and okay,
Tactical brain.
Rashford, and but
Double Rashford.
do we see? I mean, so after this game, there, Tottenham, it kind of feels like this is kind of how it might be for a little while, at least until maybe they get back Porro. I'm not Porro, sorry, Romero and Udogi is supposed to come back next game as well because it was only a one
Yeah.
game suspension for him. But they have Villa next,
Yeah.
then City, then West Ham, then Newcastle. Like that's not an easy run. That's a pretty difficult run,
Not looking too good.
and
They're
I would,
kind of struggling to make chances too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they are, and thus is. I mean, obviously we can't predict injuries, right? But I find it hard to see them finish in the top four now. I think that they will drop too much points between now and whenever Madison
Yeah.
and Van der Ven are back. And I read their financial reports recently, and they said that all the money they spent in the summer window was they spending Kane money in advance because they knew Kane was leaving. So it's not like they say like even though Kane left late in the window that they still have that money there. Yeah, that's not the case. I can't see them really reinvested heavy in January. And
Yeah,
so,
true.
yeah, I still expect Son to score. I still expect him to find ways to make chances.
Yeah,
But
I think the biggest problem was that experiment with Sar playing as a number 10.
yeah,
That should have
boy,
never happened.
yeah.
Just because he's dribbled decent from deep does not mean he can play number 10. You have Lo Celso on the bench, just play him. And it'll
But you
be
think
okay.
about Kulusevski shot though.
I don't like it. I think he's a number 10. I mean, I could see where you're going with it. Cause he's make like nice passes, but that's from out wide where you have space and so on. But our number 10 is a whole different game. Like
I just
coming
feel like
in to
he
the
he
field,
real
it's a
nifty
whole different game.
in tight spaces now, and I don't like him when he has to run large spaces either. And I think like that
Mm.
eliminates those two things. And if because then Solomon was on the bench. Right? I know Richarlison had the surgery, but I believe
hmm
Solomon was on the bench, and
I honestly
I
don't know.
think he isn't on the bench. But they have
No,
well,
it
I
was only
guess
that.
then yeah, I guess it's Lo Celso then or Gil. So who I think Gil's
Gil came
still here.
on.
Yeah, Gil did came.
Gil came on. I mean, look, they might as well try, I guess. They could try Kulusevski. I don't see no harm in it. Personally, I don't think it would work. I could be extremely wrong.
I mean,
So
Richarlison's supposed to be out for only a month, right? And if 2 weeks of that is in the international break,
that's not
then
bad.
that's not so
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but I like Lo Celso. I always thought he was a decent player. And he lefty, so he automatically just gone from a 6 star 7 in terms of rating. So I would
Virgil,
try with him as a number 10.
thoughts? Going
Yeah,
through?
because I feel like nothing here we say, nothing here we could talk about is going to be anything new that we said from last week, because it really is what we expected, honestly. So yeah, it really comes down to trying things, because at this point you really have to try some new things, whether it be putting changing the players positions and putting them different. But honestly, for Spurs, yeah, and I the biggest issue with Spurs, like the issue like things like this, they're going to drop. If they do drop points around this time, it's going to make it harder coming on to the end of the season. So yeah,
Cool,
that's
Yeah.
just one
nice.
for Spurs, boy.
So we'll do a quick wrap up around the leagues. Jude Bellingham is out for a little while, but
Mhm.
in his
Brilliant
absence,
boot.
they're not missing any beats because they still won 3-0 in midweek against Braga. It was Braga, right? Yeah, Braga. In the
Hmm.
Champions League. Which I shouldn't even mention that. We leave that till later. Brahim Diaz started in this place, but is Rodrigo, who took the headlines this weekend when they beat Valencia. He got 2 goals as well as Vinicius, but he also got 2 assists on the day. Carvajal also did score. So a really good game from them. Barcelona won this weekend, but they only won 2-1, and it looked like there was some tension on the field between Lewandowski and Yamal, despite Lewa scoring twice. Not the easiest of victories though, Patswalia, because Ole went down 1-0 in the first minute.
Yeah. The defense has
Concerns
not
me.
been too good this
Yeah.
season, to be honest.
Mhm.
Which is, I think that is our concern, and because the defense is kind of what saved us last season.
Yeah.
Um, but the main problem is these Frenchmen. I'm gonna tell you about these Frenchmen, right? You can't trust them. You actually can't trust them. When when it comes to injuries, they will pick the worst time to get injured.
That's bad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
not like I
I
think more
really
at
hope.
Dembele than Koundé.
No, this is all Kunde. This is all Kunde. I don't know how he's getting injured so much. You know, he used to play like every game at Sevilla, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden now at Barcelona, he's never fit. It doesn't make any sense, and we have to go with Christensen and other guys that are just not up and ready to the pace. It is all about the Dutchman now. If you want a good, proper centre back, a proper lad, go for a Dutch centre back. They don't get injured. They are good players, very competent, very strong,
Saying
physically
this
gifted.
after the week where
I
Van
would
de
like.
Ven get injured, eh?
That was unfortunate. He young. His passport not in full effect as yet. But you see men like Van Dijk, Botman, who happen to be injured. But let me not worry about that. De Vrij, these kind of guys, Blind, proper guys. And I need the next one. I need the next Dutchman to come to Barcelona. So whoever that might be,
So good, true that then.
if I would take Botman, to be honest. I would actually take Botman at Barca.
Cool.
He's so good.
Speaking of Frenchman, Griezmann continues his phenomenal year and scored as Atletico won
Yeah, boy.
3-1 this weekend. And thus La Liga table looks like where Girona is still top.
Like ass.
Come on,
It
Girona
looks
is
like
still
ass.
in the
come
top
on.
as
Let's
Girona won 2-1 this weekend. And Savio,
let's
Speak
be honest,
who
guys.
Doug Savio's had a great season, a really
Come
good
on.
Yeah.
season for them. So yeah, La Liga looks like
Imagine.
Girona.
Greatest loan of all time.
Yeah, dog.
I don't understand the Ukraine talent looking good. I think
Yeah, boy.
Ukraine playing somebody in some big team in over in national break. I can't remember who, I think
Well,
Can't
Italy.
remember.
Is
I'm
Italy?
not
Is it
sure.
Italy?
I could
Ukraine,
see them beating Italy. I could see them beating Italy,
yeah,
honestly.
but because
So,
That would look good, yeah.
Girona at first with 34 points, Real Madrid at second with 32, Barca third with 30, and Atletico are fourth with 28. But Atletico are fourth with a game in hand. So,
The title race.
Yes,
title
still
race.
concerned.
Definitely a title race.
We
Cool.
just in La Liga, they just show Madrid how he's beat Rayo Vallecano. That's all. That's how he's do it, you know.
Um,
Right.
then the only thing in Liga of note is that Mbappe scored a hat trick.
Hat trick hero.
Yeah.
So as we saw, he is great, best player in the world. Who needs Champions League? Moving on, Serie A. After their great conquest in midweek, which obviously we'll go into depth, Milan took a 2-0 lead this weekend. Look super comfy. Why would you ever be worried? They drew to all.
Yeah. Milan.
I saw Leo got
That's
injured again.
Did he? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That is concerning. Oh yeah, he came off in the
Let me tell you
10th
about
minute.
these Portuguese. You see these Portuguese? Don't trust them. Do not trust them.
Okay, so what nation attackers do we trust?
It's all about the Dutch. It's all about the Dutch.
They
Dutch guys are
can't.
built different.
What about English? Englishmen showing up this year. Dog. Kane has been
Englishmen are
insane.
injury prone.
Jude insane.
Englishmen are injury
Saka,
prone.
Watkins. Dog. Englishmen showing up.
I mean, facts. Okay, maybe the English attackers are with the
Yeah.
English defense.
Oh yeah.
Sus.
Attackers for sure. Defense now.
Yeah.
The defense is sus.
Cool.
They always injured in that defense. Reece James, Tyrone Mings, John Stones, Harry Maguire, who again always injured. Tyreek Mitchell. I need to continue. That guy from Everton who always injured.
Godfrey.
I forget his name.
Godfrey.
Godfrey, right?
Yeah. Cool.
Godfrey.
Nice. Moving
English,
on. Napoli lost 1-0 to Empoli this weekend, and thus it looks like Rudy Garcia is about to be sacked at the time of recording. And I honestly think it's deserved because he's been terrible, and Napoli have not looked anywhere as good as they were last season. And so, hopefully, they get somebody in to kick back up their form because genuinely they have too much good players to not be performing better than they are. You know?
Yep.
Even though I know that Osimhen is out injured, that still isn't good enough for where they are. Juventus won 2-1 this weekend, and Napoli, Inter won 2-0 this weekend, and thus Inter maintained their spot at top of the table with 31 points. Juventus second, Milan third, Napoli fourth. And lastly, in the Bundesliga, we continue to march on with our undefeated start of the season as Bayer Leverkusen with a 4-0 win this weekend continue to stay top. Granite Xhaka Hive continues to march on, guys. And thus, I have your weekly Granite Xhaka start for you in a moment. 1 second.
Please.
All right. Granit Xhaka has made more successful passes into the final third than any other player in Europe's top 7 leagues this season with 129. And so he is second for most passes overall in the Bundesliga this season. He is first for most passes completed in the opposition half, second for most passes in the final third, first for passes to enter the box, and 15 passes in the opposition box, ranked 8th. So therefore, as I said at the start of the year, and I did not say it sarcastically, and I'll continue to say it again, Granit Xhaka is the best midfielder in the Bundesliga, and they will continue their march and hopefully win the title. However, somebody else is showing that what Lewandowski did probably was not that hard, which is Harry Kane, as they won 4-2, and he scored
look,
another hat-trick.
I've said that, and not that Lewa is trash, right? He's obviously not. But being a striker at Bayern, it's just written in the stars for you to score
it's not
many
hat-trick,
goals.
sorry.
Bayern is the best team in the world at feeding their striker. That's just what it is. If you are a striker and you go to Bayern, you're going to score so many goals. And better yet, if you are a good striker, because what they did for Choupo-Moting should have honestly never happened. That was some insane stuff.
To be honest,
he scored like 14 goals or something. That's like what?
No, but Choupo-Moting do what he do kind of show why it is.
Yes, we do.
It's that hard. and even more indicative of Mane that he flopped there. Another player who's actually been really good and kind of gone mildly under the radar because Kane has been doing what he's been doing is Leroy Sané. He has 14 goals and assists in 11 games for them this season, which is already that means that he is 3 goals and assists short of his debut season with Bayern. He is level with his second season. He is 1 goal short of last season. Fantastic start of the year. And thus,
Yeah.
he's actually in contract talks that actually he may want to leave. And there's rumors that Real Madrid could be
Barca?
interested in him.
Oh, okay.
So, him on the
That's
right,
okay.
Finney left, probably Rodrigo through the middle,
Yeah.
Shoot behind them.
And
Probably a nice.
Mbappe on the bench or something.
Yeah, Mbappe on the bench.
Okay, that's cool.
Cool.
I don't know why Son, I just don't realize he just had to come out the Etihad, you know.
Okay, so that being said, and Dortmund did the most Dortmund thing ever, guys, and lost 2-1 this weekend after taking the lead. So they actually did lose to Stuttgart, who's actually been having a quite good season. So top of the table, as I said, Leverkusen, then is Bayern, then Stuttgart, then RB Leipzig, and then Dortmund are in fifth. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna take a small break now. We will be back with some Champions League action. So don't go anywhere. See you in a moment.